Here's a look at the odds for an AFC team to win the Super Bowl. The Bills, your odds-on favorite at the moment. The defending AFC champion Bengals, get them down on the list there, plus 2,200 right there with the Ravens. The teams with the worst odds in the AFC, not much of a surprise. Jags, Jets, and Texans. You can make yourself a lot of money if crazy things happen. And we welcome in CBS Sports NFL writers Ryan Wilson and Tyler Sullivan. Guys, we're talking AFC football, just 59 days until kickoff of the 2022 season. We're going to start in the AFC West. Tyler, who do you have winning that division and why?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Chargers. You know, that's a team to me, again, you know, this is a division that is absolutely loaded up when you talk about star talent coming into the division, now arguably the most competitive division in the NFL. But I'm looking at the Chargers, and it's that key reason. They are a team that's added at key spots. Obviously, they have an ascending young quarterback in Justin Herbert, but they go out and use their money when this kid's on a rookie contract, and they sign the likes of J.C. Jackson to solidify the secondary with Derwin James at safety. Obviously, they made the big splash to trade for Khalil Mack to add some pass rushing help there as well. To me, they present good value because, again, you know, you can see the odds right there. The Chiefs are the favorites, but they have lost a lot of talent. Obviously, you know, Tyrann Mathieu and Tyreek Hill, two pillars to that Super Bowl run a few years ago. To me, when you have a division where, you know, one team is losing some talent, and then all of a sudden you have an ascending team like the Chargers who are adding talent and have a quarterback that is just scratching the surface on his potential, it makes all the sense in the world for me to look at that.
Yeah, Sully, I thought I was doing something by picking the Chargers, and you sort of stole my thunder there. So I'm with you, man. The Chargers, for all the reasons you laid out, are such an exciting football team. I love Brandon Staley and his aggressiveness. I love Justin Herbert. I know people in the organization think Justin Herbert could end up being better than Patrick Mahomes, and that doesn't even sound like hyperbole when you watch Justin Herbert play and see those glimpses. So I think they have a real good chance of winning that division. They just have to clean up some of the sloppy stuff that cost them a playoff spot last year. But you mentioned all the additions, and I think that gets them much closer to that goal, especially defensively when the plan is to shut down Patrick Mahomes, and then you have the offensive firepower that starts, of course, with Justin Herbert.
Ryan, I'll give you first crack here. For years and years, the AFC North ran through Pittsburgh or Baltimore or Pittsburgh, depending on the season. Really, it's been mostly a two-team division, but not anymore. Not with Cincy going all the way to the Super Bowl last season. Who do you have winning the AFC North?
You know, Russ, I'm going to stick with the Bengals, and history tells me that's probably a terrible idea, but I think Joe Burrow's a different kind of guy for what the Bengals need. He's certainly not Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton went to 5 straight playoff games. Unfortunately, didn't win any. We've seen what Joe Burrow can do in year 2 when he's fully healthy. He has the players around him in Jamar Chase. That defense is young and aggressive, and I think they're a team on the up. And I think the rest of the teams in the division, we don't know about the Browns quarterback situation. The Steelers are without Big Ben for the first time since 2004. Is Kenny Pickett and or Mr. Trubisky the answer? I have no idea. And we talked previously about Lamar Jackson, his contract situation. He's healthy. That team will be healthy. But I think the Bengals are a little ahead of where Baltimore is right now based on their success last year. And I think they build on that once the season gets underway.
Ryan, you and I are just in sync so far. I'm right there with you with the Bengals. Again, you look at that team, and historically you say, okay, the team that lost the Super Bowl, they historically take a step back. You know, things change. That momentum of the previous year doesn't really carry over. I feel like they're a team that's going to buck that trend. And when you look at what they were able to do this offseason, the number one need was to solidify that offensive line. They've gone out and done it tremendously. And when you look at Joe Burrow, like you said, going into year 3, obviously fully healthy, if he has stability in front of him along the offensive line, he has all the weapons in the world to really light up opposing defenses. Jamar Chase, obviously, going into year 2, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. You go down the list, it is a dangerous combination there as well. And obviously, Joe Mixon in the backfield. That is a team that's going to really make a difference there. And defensively, they also have some pieces there as well. The Jesse Bates situation at safety, he's still without a contract. He might hold out in training camp. That's something, obviously, to keep an eye on there because he was a major factor during that playoff run in the postseason. But ultimately, I like everything that Cincinnati's put around. Like you said, the Ravens are the biggest threat here. They're a team that obviously had the injury bug just completely take a huge chunk out of them last year. Lamar Jackson obviously missed games, missed time as well, but it was particularly on the defensive side of the ball and in the backfield. They're going to be a threat if they can remain healthy. But again, I like the continuity that Cincinnati's bringing to the table after they fix that O-line this offseason.
All right, Ryan, I'm coming to you here with the AFC South. A lot of people think it's a 2-team division. Colts getting a lot of pub. Who do you have winning it?
Yeah, you talked me into it, Russ. I'm going with the Colts, and we can simplify it this way. Do you want Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry, or do you want Matt Ryan and Jonathan Taylor? I'll take the latter. I think the defense is a little better in Indianapolis. I think the coaching, they're probably tit for tat in terms of what you can get from those guys. But I think Matt Ryan gives you more than Ryan Tannehill. And the lasting image for me of Ryan Tannehill is that loss at home in the playoffs to the Bengals. Those are some ugly interceptions. Derrick Henry had come back from that injury. He wasn't quite as effective as he had been before the injury, understandably so, but Jonathan Taylor is younger. He's more dynamic at this point in his career. They're probably 1 and 1A, and you can switch them around if you want, but I think Matt Ryan's a huge upgrade over Carson Wentz, and this is the Colts team that somehow missed the playoffs last year because they went to Jacksonville and lost in Week 18. That's not going to happen again this time with Matt Ryan. This is the better team in my mind on paper, and I think it's going to play out that way once the season gets underway 59 days from now.
Yeah, Colts are the pick here. Yeah, they have to be. They have a better quarterback situation, I think, and I've said this before. I think that the Titans have kind of plateaued with Ryan Tannehill. I think they've seen the apex of what that's going to bring them there. And obviously, he can go up. They can get out of his contract after the end of next season. So it's a very pivotal year for him. But it's the Colts. And not only have they improved from the quarterback position, but they go out this year on the defensive side of the ball and add Yannick Ngakoue and Stephon Gilmore to a unit that was already top 10 in DVOA last year. The Colts make a lot of sense here.
All right, Tyler, coming back at you here, AFC East. It was the Patriots division for a long time, but Tom Brady isn't walking through that door. Josh Allen took the Bills tantalizingly close to the Super Bowl last season. Yet there's optimism with Mac Jones in New England, a new coach with some new targets for Tua in Miami, and they're the Jets. So who do you have winning the AFC East?
The Buffalo Bills. They're the most complete roster in the NFL. They didn't even have to touch anything this offseason, and they still would have been considered the favorites in not only in the AFC East, but to win the Super Bowl. They go out and add Von Miller. They add a number one corner in the first round of the draft this past year. They're getting their actual all-pro number one corner back in Tre'Davious White after he missed the last chunk of the year. To me, top to bottom, Josh Allen, MVP quarterback, a number one defense. It would be silly to pick anywhere else. If you look at New England, yes, there's optimism with Mac Jones going into year 2. I know we were just talking about Lamar Jackson looking chiseled. Mac Jones looks like he lost a little bit of that baby fat as well, so maybe he takes a step forward, but there's concerns obviously at the coordinator spot. Josh McDaniels is gone. That's going to be a big thing for him as he goes into year 2 with Matt Patricia, Bill Belichick, and Joe Judge kind of whispering in his ear all at the same time. And then in Miami, there's still questions about Tua, and obviously New York is still rebuilding there. So for me, it's Buffalo from top to bottom. They're the best roster in the NFL.
Sully, you said it would be silly to pick anyone but the Bills. I see you're still in raise you. I'm going with McCorkle Jones. You laid out all the reasons why there should be huge concerns, starting with who the offensive coordinator is. I grant you that, and those are fair concerns. But, I've been on the Mac Jones bandwagon for a couple years now. I'm not getting off now, and this will be his opportunity to prove just how important he is to that offense. He's certainly not Tom Brady, not yet. You could argue that their year ones in New England were similar in terms of productivity, but there's a long way to go if Mac Jones thinks he's going to be in Canton one day. It starts here in year 2. He has Devontae Parker, which I think will be a huge help. I didn't love the Tyquan Thornton draft pick in the second round, but he's an absolute blazer, and if they can get the most out of him, that's one more weapon they didn't have previously. I think the tight ends have to pick it up. The 2 they signed last year that were on and off, Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, they have an opportunity to do that. And the defense has to make up for players they lost as well. But I think Mac Jones is going to be the most important player. It's a long shot to win this division, no doubt, but I think it would be a great storyline and something to watch and give Patriots haters all around the world something to latch on to. Sully, I'm sure you're quite familiar with that as a Patriots homer. I'm glad I was able to say Mac Jones since you clearly could not.
All right, last thing here, guys. We got your AFC division winners. Now we got to know who's going to be representing the conference. Super Bowl 57 in Arizona. Tyler, you get first crack.
Well, it won't be McCorkle Jones. Sorry, Ryan. It's just not happening. I'm going with the Buffalo Bills. It's a chalky play. But again, best roster in the NFL. They have an MVP favorite in Josh Allen. They have a number one defense that is adding Von Miller, that's bringing back Tre'Davious White. There's just a lot of things to love here. Again, it's the reason why they're the favorite, obviously. This isn't like a Super Bowl take. The only thing that does give me pause, though, with Buffalo, and it's something that's going a little bit under the radar, is the departure of Brian Daboll. I think it would be disrespectful to his talents as a coach to say that's not going to be a factor at all, that Josh Allen's going to be totally fine. It's not going to make a difference. The offense will continue to hum. there is going to be some sort of transition. There's going to be some sort of impact to his loss. Depending on how big that is, that remains to be seen. But again, that is something that you still have to look at there. We look at this offense and consider it a juggernaut. They did lose a very important piece, not necessarily on the field, but in the play calling there in Brian Daboll. It's something to keep an eye out there, but I still love Buffalo.
Ryan Wilson and Tyler. Ryan, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm with Tyler. I'm back from Mars on the Patriots bandwagon stuff. The Buffalo Bills are the obvious answer here. Clearly, Kansas City or San Diego, Los Angeles, the Chargers could be in the mix here. But for all the reasons that Tyler laid out, and here's the thing about Brian Daboll, and Sully noted this, that, yeah, there could be some lag in terms of the productivity we see from Josh Allen. But that better show up in New York with Danny Dimes, because if not, then it's sort of a lose-lose for the Bills and the Giants. But I think that obviously the winner of this whole thing is going to be the Bills, even though Brian Daboll is now in New York, because Josh Allen is a special talent, one of the 2 or 3 best players in the NFL, and that will show itself over the course of this season.
All right, Ryan Wilson and Tyler Sullivan, guys, thank you so very much. Let's recap the picks. Ryan and Tyler both have the Chargers winning the AFC West and the Bengals in the North. They're also in lockstep with the Colts in the South. Their only disagreement really comes in the East, where Ryan has the Pats back on top, while Tyler's picking the Bills. And, well, Ryan, like Tyler, thinks the Bills are actually headed to the Super Bowl on February 12th, 2023.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.